Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to access your laptop or computer inside a firewall from the internet. So we're going to use something called dynamic DNS along with port forwarding in the router and some other types of configuration to set up your remote desktop. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Google and just search for the Dynu. Dynu provides free dynamic DNS service, so we'll go ahead and first create an account with Dynu. So as you can see, it's free, and you can read about it if you like, but dynamic DNS is basically a technology that points a domain name to your static or dynamic IP address at all times. They have two types of dynamic DNS service, one for the top level domain. So if you already have a domain name, you can use their free dynamic DNS. If you want to buy a domain name, you can. We're going to go for this third level domain name, which is free. So just click continue. They just put your name or whatever you want to put over there. There's two types. So you can choose dynu.com or net, doesn't matter. We're going to go with Alex Baker. Gonna create a user. Just put your information in here as best as you can. The only thing to remember here is that your email address, you should probably put a valid email address, just because if you lose your password or you forget it, if you have the email address in there, you can retrieve it back. Otherwise you won't be able to get access back to that domain name. So go ahead and fill this out as best as you can. There are 7 steps, and this is the first step. So let's fill this out and then move on to the next step here. Once this is done, we will have a domain name called alexbaker.dynu.com. Using this domain name, we should be able to access the IP address of my internal network here at home. So just click continue, and it's all free. There's nothing to be paid, or it's not a trial or anything. It's completely free. There's no advertisements of anything of that sort. Next, we're gonna go into this control panel just to take a look at what's in there. There's some features in there that may be useful. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in with the email and password that I signed in with. As soon as we log in, we see there's a few things here, and the third level dynamic DNS service is the one that we are registered, alexbaker.dynu.com. And let's see, we're gonna go to general settings in here, and you can see there are many domain names that you can use to access your account. Access your IP address. alexbaker.dynu.com, www, FTP, mail, and so on. That's your primary IP address. It automatically finds it and puts it in there. MX record is like for your mail, if you plan on receiving mail for it. And here's the feature email notification. If you check it, it will actually send you an email when your IP address changes. Yeah, just click save, and then we're just gonna go back here. It shows you all of the information here. We're gonna download a client software and keep it running on the computer so that it keeps our domain name mapped to the dynamic IP address. So this software is free. Once again, you just download it, and after it finishes downloading, we have to install it. It's a very lightweight software, and this software actually, once you configure it, you can just leave it. You don't even have to start it up because it runs as a system service, and it updates your IP address automatically if it changes. So it's just a one-time step that you need to do to download and install it on your computer. The software is once again, it's completely freeware. It has no ads or malware or adware or nothing of that sort. So when we finish this step and when we configure this software, what we have accomplished so far is that our domain name alexbaker.dynu.com will always stay mapped to the IP address of this computer. So if the IP address changes, for some reason it changes, it doesn't matter, the software will keep track of it and make sure this domain name points to the network here. So that gives us the convenience to access the network with a name we can remember easily and not having to use the IP address, which is very difficult to remember. It's gonna do a quick install here. Bear with me here. All right, so while it's finishing up, that's step 3 completed. We're gonna go ahead and put the domain name in here one time. It's like I said, it's only a one-time thing, so just click OK. Now we have to go into the domain tab and put the domain name Alex Baker or whatever is the domain. You have to choose dynu.com or dynu.net or whatever else. Put the password and make sure to click the save button. After you click the save button, it's done. Now it will keep track of your IP address based on this domain name. Just click OK. It does run in the tray icon, but even if you close it, if you exit out of it, doesn't matter. It'll still keep track of your domain name because it runs as a system service like I told you. Alright, we're going to enable remote desktop on this computer. So just right click my computer, properties, and then on the left side you see remote settings. Click that, and what we are going to do is enable remote desktop connections to this computer. Now it doesn't mean that anyone can connect to this computer. Even if you enable it, you still need to have a valid username and password to connect to this computer. So it's not like anyone can just get in there and connect it. If your system doesn't have a username and password, it just won't let anyone connect. So it's pretty secure in some ways. Next, we're gonna go to Windows Firewall and we're gonna open port 3389 or remote desktop port. Because the firewall basically blocks any inbound traffic, so we have to open this port so people can you can actually access your desktop through remote desktop protocol. So we just click the advanced settings. When you go into advanced settings, just to let you know, the system is smart enough to already create a port inbound rule for it. It usually does it automatically when you enable remote desktop, but we are going to go ahead and double confirm it out here. So just scroll down to remote desktop, and there you go. You see TCP in remote desktop user mode. It says yes. Now if it doesn't say yes, you can right click it and you can enable it. And if you don't find this rule at all, you can create a new rule by clicking a new rule, port. So in this case, remote desktop runs on port 3389 and it's TCP. So just type 3389. Now you don't have to do this if the rule is already there. If it's not there, allow connection, next, and then you can put some kind of you can let it, you have to make sure that it's all enabled so you can access it from the internet. Put the name like RDP or remote desktop protocol, whatever you like, and click finish. I'm not going to do it because the rule's already in here by default in Windows 8 when I enabled it. So that's done. Now our computer will allow people to access it from outside on the network. Now we have a very important step to do, and that is configure port forwarding in the router that I have here. So I'm going to go to the router website to manage it. So in my case, the router is at 192.168.1.1. I'm gonna go in here and log in. If you don't know the password of your router, just look under the router, like physically, and maybe the password is gonna be in there. Just go into every router is different, but in my router's case, I have this NAT section and it says port translation. But you need to find the place where it has port forwarding, and then you type the name is RDP, protocol is TCP, is port 3389, and then we need to forward it to the IP address, internal IP of this computer, which we can find by typing ipconfig. So you just type ipconfig in DOS command, and you can see the IP address is 192.168.164. So I'm going to put here 192.168.164, and the destination is also 3389. And I'm going to enable it. So now whatever traffic is received on the router for port 3389, it's going to forward it to port 3389 of this computer, yeah? So that way RDP is accessible from the internet. Well, yeah, going ahead, we're going to do a quick check. As you can see, this is a port check we're going to do. Go to the port check. Just to make sure to test, is this port forwarding set up correctly? You go on DNS website and go to the tools port check. Make sure it's your IP address. It automatically puts it in there. Put port 3389. Check it out. See what result you get. If it says success, it means this port is open and it is configured correctly. All right, that's what it means. Now, there is really no way to test this completely, but you can go to remote. You can find remote desktop connection. You can open it and then you can try to connect to it. But here's the catch. If you try to connect to your domain name from here, it won't work. And the reason is the domain name points to the IP address of the router, and that's an external IP address. The router doesn't allow bounce back traffic. So even if you click connect, it won't, the router will just take it. It's a security measure in all routers. So never try to access your computer using your external IP address when you're inside your network. It's just not gonna work, yeah? So if this test doesn't work, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean it's not working from outside. It's just not working from inside your network. So that's it. Once it says it's successful, the only way to test it is now you go to work or you go to your friend's house or something, and then you want to access your computer. Open up your remote desktop window there, put your domain name, click connect. As long as you know your username and password, you should be able to connect, and that should be it. So that's it. This is how you set up remote desktop using your domain name, dynamic DNS domain name.